Hi, I'm Joe, and we're talking about Csun's new student orientation for 2019. So there was about 11 different orientations you could have chosen from, and me being a Ctva student, I chose the Mike Curb Arts, Media, and Communications orientation. But I think for the most part, they were all pretty similar. They were all, I think, 10 hours. Yeah, 10 hours. And they all covered some of the same things, probably some a little bit more than others, depending on which major you're in. Let's talk about what happens when you get there. So, I live in LA, so it took me about an hour to get there, but then hearing how some people came from New York and Czechoslovakia and India, it made my hour feel a little short, but it wasn't. But when you get there, there's donuts, there's coffee, there's name tags. I don't know why I'm so excited for name tags. Yeah. And when I got up there, I met up with 2 people, but then we got split because we got put into different small groups. Because after you get your name tag, you're all put into small groups and you go and meet with them. And I met a lot of cool people at the start of it. And right after we met up, there was a couple of new student orientation starter things. That's just a horrible way to describe it. There's a couple of dances. But after that, all the small groups, we all went into different areas of the campus and we did small group things. We did icebreakers, we introduced ourselves, we played a couple of games, practiced this chant. Always a matador! Always a matador! Always a matador! Oh, hey! And then we headed off into the tour.
I got the vibe that like he never got recognized too. And he's like,
so, some of you probably went to Explore Day earlier in the year, and you know, you already got the basic feel of the campus. You walked around, checked out a couple of the buildings, probably checked out housing. Yeah, in orientation, we didn't really check out housing, but they told us a lot about all the different buildings. So some of these buildings were apparently used in a lot of films and TV shows, but for the most part, they were used for educational purposes, like normal college buildings. And even how the film building was designed by the guy that designed the boat for Titanic. Which is pretty alarming because it sank. But that's cool. But yeah, it was normal tour stuff. But yeah, then we piled into the auditorium for a few talks. So first we had a speech by the president where she was talking about the school and what she loved about it, what she loved about the students. Then we had a couple more people that spoke, or just giving a lot of good information about the school or talking about how happy they were with Csun and how awesome the students were. And a lot of them said that we were the best college, the Mike Curb College of Arts, Media, and Communications. You wouldn't believe how long it took me to get that right. Yeah, and that whole thing was probably about 2 hours. Yeah, and then the room was kind of like a movie theater, so it was kind of cold and kind of dark. So I fell asleep a couple of times, but I was awake for most of it. A lot of good info, from what I can remember before I fell asleep a couple of times. But after that, we headed outside for a short break-ish, and then we headed inside this other building, which was kind of close to this one, for the resource fair. So the resource fair was kind of like if you guys have ever had a club carnival at your school, and there was a few clubs, there were a lot of different resources. Yeah, resource fair, duh. For like free food, free nutrition services. I was mainly excited about the free food. Yeah, they talked about things like ASB and Big Show 2019, which is like this super big event at Csun. And yeah, you just had time to go and explore the room and find a different niche for yourself. I was kind of bummed at first that there wasn't a lot of different clubs for you to check out, but then I thought about how hot it already was in that room with all those people, how we probably didn't need more body heat when it was triple digits outside. Probably not. And then we get to go to lunch. So prior to going lunch, our small group was tasked, well not our small group, every small group was tasked with making their own unique chant. And apparently, if the chant wasn't good enough, you weren't gonna eat. Okay, you were gonna get sent to the back of the line and have to retry, but I don't know if that happened to a group, if the person was just joking about it, but I feel like that'd be a vibe kill for the whole day. And it seems like a really good way to piss a lot of people off. But we did it, first try. Small group 12 was not about to be denied its burgers, because the stakes were just too high. It's not a pun. And those burgers were amazing, but the water was even better. Trust me guys, if you're having that heat, probably a pretty good idea to bring a water bottle, because it would suck if you passed out on hour 5 of the orientation. But yeah, there were still 4 to 5 hours left in the tour. Why did I say orientation? There were still 4 to 5 hours left in the orientation. So the next thing on the list was, well, we did safety and stuff. It was a pretty standard rundown of the university's procedures for different cases of emergencies. And we even did Cahoots, which I bet you never thought you would see again. But yeah, that was about half an hour or an hour. And then after that, we did take 31. Take 31 was, I didn't film it because I didn't want to, you know, hold my arm up for 2 hours. Yeah, it's a 2-hour play. I'm kidding. The real reason I didn't film it is because it was such a vulnerable play. That's a really weird way to describe a play, I know. So, depending on your small group leader, this might be the thing that they're advertising the entire day. They're like, guys, this is gonna be a long 10 hours, but this is going to be worth it for take 30. Take 30 was great, and I'm not just hyping it up, because at first I thought they were just hyping it up. But it was just so take 30 was Csun's play that had a couple of different skits that tackled a couple of social issues, growing concerns in the community, and a lot of different topics. There was a lot of different topics covered in it. And it was a super humane play. I mean, it was unfiltered, it was very real, very genuine, and the performances were just great. And I don't just mean great in like how they were acting. Okay, that sounds stupid. I do mean how they were acting. I mean in their portrayals of some of these stories that are told, and the way that they bring the stories onto the stage, and the way that they brought them to life. I think the thing I liked the most about it was that it left a lot of room for conversation. Which brings me into my next point, or not my next point, the next part of the orientation, which was my personal favorite, which is the goodbye discussion, which is the end of the day discussion with your small group. So at the end of the day, groups are given the opportunity to have one final discussion before they go and depart ways and possibly never see each other again. You're given the opportunity to get to know each other better, to make friends, to add each other on social media so you guys can keep in touch. And my group, we mainly focused on our reactions to Take 30, which opened up a much deeper conversation, which is great. It was a really vulnerable conversation, which part of the reason why I didn't record a lot during the orientation was because there are a lot of moments out there where we were sharing our stories, or, you know, I was really surprised that in that short amount of, in those 10 hours, which is a short amount of time, our group was able to be vulnerable. And that's what the conversation was. It was a really vulnerable conversation. It was a real, get all your stuff out there, judgment-free zone type thing. Yeah. And what I can definitely say is that I learned a lot in Take 30, but I also learned a lot more in that conversation. That we just really grew a little bit closer. It was one of those conversations that, depending on how involved you're in it, you just lose track of time, because it was just such a deep and it was just such a good conversation. Which, watching this video, some of you might be able to understand that value. of how rare it is to have those long, meaningful conversations with someone. And it was a great feeling. But then, you know, we had to cut short because some of us had to drive home. My final thoughts, I can truly say that I enjoyed the orientation at Csun. It was 10 hours, it was really long. And I remember being a little pessimistic in the morning because that's 10 hours. And I drove an hour to get there. And I was gonna have to drive an hour back to LA. I learned a lot, not only about the school, but about the community I would possibly be a part of for another 4 years. Because I don't know about grad school. We had a lot of conversations in the NSO about expenses. Grad school is looking pretty expensive, so I don't know about grad school. Yeah, no. It left me with a lot to be excited for. And it's with my hope that they'll keep getting better. So where if you guys go in 2020 or 2021, or wherever you're watching this video, it'll be just an amazing experience for you. But yeah, that's my Csun NSO 2019 video. Peace.